The greatest battle you will ever fight is not against the world, nor against those who oppose you, but against the unrest that stirs within you. There is a struggle that rages in the hearts of men and women, a struggle against anger, against frustration, against the endless irritation that others may bring. And yet, you were not created to live as a slave to your emotions. You were made for something higher, something greater. You were made to stand above the storms, untouched by the winds of anger and unshaken by the words and actions of others. If you have ever found yourself disturbed by the words of another, if you have ever been consumed by resentment, if you have ever allowed anger to take hold of your heart, then you know the weight of this burden. It can steal your peace, it can cloud your mind, it can lead you down roads you never intended to walk. But you were not meant to live this way. You were meant to walk in freedom. You were meant to be a light not consumed by the darkness of bitterness. You were meant to rise above, to be unmoved by the chaos around you, to carry a peace so deep that nothing and no one can take it from you. The problem is not the people around you. It is not the difficult coworker, the harsh words of a stranger, the betrayal of a friend. It is not even the injustices of the world that bring anger into your heart. The problem is within. The problem is the way you respond, the way you allow these things to take root in your mind and dictate your emotions. No man, no woman, no circumstance has the power to control your spirit unless you give them that power. They can insult you, but they cannot make you angry. They can betray you, but they cannot force you to live in bitterness. They can misunderstand you, mock you, criticize you, but they do not have the ability to rob you of your peace unless you allow it. The world teaches that anger is a natural response, that it is justified, that it is even necessary. But there is a higher way, there is a greater truth. Anger is not strength. Anger is not power. True strength is the ability to remain calm in the face of adversity. True power is the ability to respond with peace when others expect you to react with fury. This is not weakness. It is the greatest strength a person can have. It is the strength to control yourself rather than be controlled by others. Do you know why anger rises so quickly? It is because of pride. It is because we take offense. We say, how dare they speak to me this way? How dare they treat me like this? But who are we to demand that others always treat us with kindness? Who are we to expect that the world will be fair? If we hold on to this pride, if we insist on being respected, on being treated well, we will always be at the mercy of others. But if we let go of this pride, if we say, I will not be ruled by how others treat me, then we will find a peace that no one can shake. Think about it. If someone were to insult you in a language you do not understand, would you be angry? No. Because their words are meaning to you, their insult would hold no weight. And yet when someone speaks against us in our own language, we take it to heart. But the truth is, their words only have power because we give them power. If we choose to see them as meaningless, they will have no effect on us. But how do we reach this place? How do we train ourselves to be unmoved by the words and actions of others? It starts with a decision to value peace over pride, a decision to see people not as enemies, but as broken souls who do not know what they are doing. When someone offends you, when someone lashes out at you, recognize that their actions are not about you. They are acting out of their own pain, their own struggles, their own darkness. Instead of taking offense, have compassion. Instead of reacting with anger, respond with understanding. This does not mean you must allow others to walk over you. It does not mean you do not stand up for truth. But it means you do not let their actions dictate your emotions. Imagine a great tree standing in the midst of a storm. The wind blows, the rain beats down, but the tree remains firm, its roots deep in the ground. The tree does not fight the storm. It does not resist the wind. It simply stands. And because it stands, it endures. You must be like that tree. Do not allow yourself to be uprooted by the storms of life, by the words of people, by the offenses of the world. Stand firm, remain unshaken. Every time you feel anger rising within you, every time you feel yourself becoming frustrated, stop. Ask yourself, is this worth my peace? Is the comment of a stranger worth disturbing your soul? Is the mistake of a friend worth robbing you of your joy? Is the action of an enemy worth giving up your freedom? The answer is always no, because nothing is worth losing the peace that you were meant to have. And when you master this, when you learn to never be angry or bothered by anyone, you will find that life itself changes. Your days will be lighter. Your mind will be clearer. You will not waste your energy on things that do not matter. You will not be distracted by the pettiness of the world. You will be free. And in that freedom, you will find a strength greater than you have ever known. So today, make the choice. Choose peace over pride. Choose to be unshaken, unmoved, untouchable by the words and actions of others. Choose to walk in the strength of knowing that nothing and no one can disturb your heart unless you allow it. And when you do, you will never again be angry. You will never again be bothered. You will rise above. And in that place, you will find a joy and a power that nothing in this world can take away. There is a moment in every day, in every interaction, where a decision must be made. It is not a decision forced upon you by external circumstances, nor one dictated by the actions of others. It is a decision that arises from within, a choice that determines a course of your emotions, your thoughts, and ultimately your life. That decision is whether to react or to remain at peace. Most people go through life without ever realizing that they have this choice. They move through their days allowing situations, words, and opinions to dictate their inner state. If someone speaks harshly to them, they become offended. If someone disagrees with them, they become defensive. If they encounter an obstacle, they become frustrated. They live as if they are at the mercy of the world, as if their peace is something fragile, something easily stolen by anyone who chooses to disturb it. But this is not the truth. Peace is not something given or taken by external forces. Peace is a decision, a commitment, a practice that must be made every single day. The reason so many people struggle with maintaining peace is that they have not trained themselves to value it above their instinct to react. The world conditions people to believe that reacting is natural, that it is a sign of strength, that to stand up for oneself means to fight back, to prove a point, to make sure others know they are not to be disrespected. But true strength does not lie in the ability to react. True strength lies in the ability to remain unmoved, in the ability to choose peace over reaction, in the ability to master one's own emotions rather than be mastered by them. The moment you decide that your peace is more valuable than any argument, any insult, any misunderstanding, you step into a different kind of power. A power that is unshaken by circumstances, a power that cannot be manipulated by others. Many people wake up each day without any intention for their emotions. They wake up and allow the events of the day to dictate their mood. If things go well, they feel good. If things go wrong, they become irritated. If someone is kind to them, they feel valued. If someone is rude, they feel insulted. They move through life like a leaf in the wind, tossed around by every passing interaction, by every unexpected turn of events. But this is not how one must live. Each day, upon waking, the first decision must be made to prioritize peace. Before stepping into the world, before checking messages, before engaging with anyone, there must be a conscious commitment that no matter what happens, no matter who says what, no matter what obstacles arise, peace will not be sacrificed. There will always be moments in the day when this decision is tested. It may be tested by a difficult conversation, by an improver driver, by a mistake at work, by an unexpected delay, by a misunderstanding. And in those moments, there will always be two options: to react or to remain centered. Reaction is easy. It is automatic. It requires no thought, no effort, no discipline. But choosing peace requires mastery. It requires the ability to pause, to recognize the moment of choice, and to remind oneself that nothing is worth the disturbance of inner peace. There is a common belief that if one does not react, it means they do not care, that they are weak, that they are allowing others to walk over them. But this is a misunderstanding. Choosing peace does not mean allowing injustice. It does not mean remaining silent when action must be taken. It means taking action from a place of calm, not from a place of anger. It means responding with clarity, not reacting with emotion. It means standing firm in who you are without letting the negativity of the world pull you into its chaos. People often justify their anger by saying that certain situations warrant it. They believe that if someone is rude, anger is the natural response. If someone betrays them, resentment is justified. If life is unfair, frustration is expected. But the truth is, no situation, no matter how difficult, can force anger upon you. Anger is always a choice. It may feel involuntary at times, but that is only because the habit of reaction has been ingrained over years of unawareness. The mind has been conditioned to believe that emotions are dictated by events rather than by choice. But just as a person can train their body to be strong, they can train their mind to be still. Training the mind begins with awareness. It begins with catching the small moments where peace is about to be lost and choosing differently. When someone interrupts, when someone disagrees, when things do not go as planned, instead of reacting, pause. Observe the initial impulse to react. Feel the familiar rise of frustration or defensiveness. And then make a different choice. Choose to let it go. Choose to remain centered. Choose to see the situation as an opportunity to practice self-mastery rather than as a reason to lose peace. There is a profound shift that takes place when one no longer allows external events to dictate internal well-being. It is the shift from living in reaction to living in control. It is the shift from being a victim of circumstances to being the master of one's emotions. When this shift happens, life itself changes. The things that once caused irritation no longer have power. The words that once offended no longer hold weight. The situations that once seemed unbearable become insignificant. There is a lightness of freedom, A strength that comes from knowing that nothing, absolutely nothing, has the power to steal peace unless permission is given. Every day presents a new opportunity to reinforce this decision. The mind will try to convince you that today's challenge is different, that today's is worse, that today's inconvenience is greater. But this is an illusion. The principle remains the same. No matter what happens, the power to choose peace is always available. And the more it is chosen, the stronger it becomes. The more it is practiced, the more natural it feels. Imagine a life where nothing disturbs you. Imagine moving through each day with a sense of calm that cannot be shaken. Imagine handling every situation, every person, every challenge with grace and composure. This is not a fantasy. This is the reality that is available to anyone willing to make the daily commitment to prioritize inner peace over reaction. And it begins with a decision. A decision made not just once, but over and over again until it becomes the very foundation upon which life is built. A tree that is deeply rooted does not fear the storm. It does not resist the wind by flailing its branches wildly. It does not panic when the rain pours down heavily. It does not tremble when thunder roars above. It stands firm, unwavering, allowing the storm to come and go, knowing that it is not the storm that determines its strength, but the depth of its roots. This is the nature of inner stability. This is the nature of one who refuses to be shaken by the trials of life, by the opinions of others, by the temporary troubles that pass like the wind. In life, storms will come. They will come in the form of challenges, in the form of disappointments, in the form of words spoken against you, in the form of losses, in the form of unexpected hardships. They will come when you least expect them, when you are unprepared, when you believe everything is finally going well. And in those moments, many people panic. They react. They allow themselves to be swayed, to be uprooted, to be thrown off course. They feel as if their peace has been stolen, as if their foundation has been broken, as if they are powerless against the force of the storm. But they are not powerless. They only lack the awareness of their own strength. A deeply rooted tree does not gain its strength overnight. It grows slowly, steadily over time. Its roots push deeper and deeper into the ground, securing its place, anchoring it so firmly that no force of nature can break it. It is not something that happens in an instant, but rather something that is developed through the seasons. And so it is with a strong mind, a steady heart, an unshakable soul. These things do not happen by accident. They do not come simply because one desires them. They are built through experience, through endurance, through choosing over and over again not to be moved no matter what comes. Many people believe that strength is shown through resistance, through fighting back, through proving a point. They believe that to be unshaken means to retaliate, to make sure no one thinks they are weak, to assert their dominance in every situation. But true strength is not loud. True strength is not found in aggression, in defensiveness, in proving oneself to the world. True strength is silent, like the roots of a tree, holding everything together even when the surface is battered by the winds of life. It is the ability to remain still when others are losing control. It is the ability to remain at peace when the world around you is in chaos. It is the ability to see everything that is happening, to feel the pressure of the storm, and yet to stand firm, to let it pass, to remain unchanged. There is power in patience. There is power in stillness. There is power in knowing that storms are temporary, that no situation, no hardship, no insult, no challenge lasts forever. But this is something that must be understood deeply, not just on an intellectual level, but on a level that becomes part of your very being. If a tree doubted its own roots, it would panic at the first sign of wind. If it believed that every storm would be the end, it would collapse under the weight of fear. But it does not. It remains. It endures. It allows the storm to come, knowing that it has survived before, that it will survive again, that the storm has no power over it unless it chooses to believe otherwise. People often feel as if they must react to everything. They feel as if they must respond to every negative word spoken about them, as if they must fight every battle, as if they must involve themselves in every storm that passes their way. But this is unnecessary. Not every storm requires participation. Not every situation demands a reaction. Not every insult requires a defense. There is wisdom in knowing when to stand firm, and when to walk away, when to speak and when to be silent, when to act and when to simply let things pass on their own. Imagine a life where nothing could shake you. Imagine moving through the world with a quiet confidence, knowing that no matter what happens, you will remain standing. Imagine no longer feeling that to explain yourself, to prove yourself, to convince anyone of who you are. Imagine being so deeply rooted in your own peace, in your own worth, in your own understanding of life that nothing, absolutely nothing, to disturb you. This is not a fantasy. This is the reality of those who have learned to let the storm pass, who have learned to trust their own strength, who have trained themselves to remain unmoved. To develop this level of strength, one must first let go of the habit of reacting. Reaction is the enemy of peace. It is the habit of those who do not yet understand their own power. It is what happens when one is ruled by emotions rather than by wisdom. When someone insults you, the natural response is to defend yourself, to argue or fight back. But what if you did not? What if you simply allowed the words to pass, knowing that they have no power unless you give them power? What if you understood that the opinion of another person does not define you, that their words do not shape your reality, their negativity is a reflection of them, not of you? This is not weakness, this is control, this is mastery over self. It is easy to react. It is easy to be offended. It is easy to allow yourself to be disturbed by every small thing. But it takes strength to remain calm. It takes strength to walk away. It takes strength to allow the storm to pass without losing yourself in it. One of the greatest lessons that life will teach is that most things are not worth the energy of reaction. The opinions of others are temporary. The challenges of today will be forgotten tomorrow. The things that seem overwhelming in the moment will eventually fade, but what remains, what truly matters, is how deeply rooted you are. If your peace is dependent on circumstances, on people treating you well, on things going your way, then you will always be at the mercy of the storm. But if your peace comes from within, if it is something unshaken by the outside world, then nothing can take it from you. It is a practice. It is a choice. It is something that must be reinforced daily, through small moments, through everyday encounters, through the willingness to let things go rather than hold on to them. Every time you choose not to react, you strengthen your roots. Every time you choose to let something pass without allowing it to disturb you, you become stronger. Every time you prioritize your peace over your impulse to engage in negativity, you take one step closer to becoming unshakable. There will always be moments that test you. There will always be situations that challenge your ability to remain still. There will always be storms that come without warning, but the question is not whether the storms will come. The question is whether you will remain standing. The question is whether you will allow yourself to be uprooted, to be swayed, to be thrown off course, or whether you will trust that you are stronger than the storm. There is a great misunderstanding in the minds of many, a belief that life should be fair, that justice should always prevail, that goodness should always be rewarded, and that wrongdoing should always be punished. This expectation is a source of frustration, disappointment, and suffering for so many because they walk through life expecting a balance that was never promised. They believe that if they do good, good will always come to them. They believe that if they treat others well, they will be treated well in return. They believe that honesty will always be met with truth, that kindness will always be met with gratitude, and that hard work will always be rewarded. But life does not operate on human expectations. The world does not function according to personal ideas of fairness. A man may spend years building a business with integrity, treating his employees with care, giving his best effort every single day, only to see another man dishonest, deceitful, ruthless, rise higher, achieve more, and prosper beyond him. A person may pour their heart into a relationship, give their all, remain loyal, be patient, be understanding, only to be betrayed, abandoned, left to wonder why their love was not enough. A hard worker may spend decades giving their best, showing up early, staying late, putting in more effort than anyone else, only to watch someone else less committed, less diligent be promoted ahead of them. And when this happens, the natural reaction is to ask why. Why does the liar prosper while the honest man struggles? Why does the betrayer find happiness while the faithful one is left in pain? Why does the world seem to favor those who do wrong while those who do right suffer? This is the question that torments so many. This is the thought that keeps people awake at night, that creates resentment, that hardens hearts, that turns kindness into bitterness, that transforms hope into despair. People become angry with life. They become frustrated with the injustice of it all. They feel that they have been wronged, that they have been cheated, that the world has failed to give them what they deserve. But the truth is, life never promised fairness. The world was never designed to operate according to personal expectations. And the sooner one accepts this, the sooner peace will enter the heart. To live in constant expectation of fairness is to invite suffering. It is to set oneself up for disappointment again and again. It is to remain in a state of frustration because the world will not mold itself to personal beliefs. People who expect fairness are easily angered. They are easily disturbed. They hold grudges. They live with resentment. They look at others and compare their situations, questioning why life has not given them what they believe they deserve. They feel entitled to justice, to rewards, to kindness in return for their own goodness. But life does not work this way, and the more one clings to this expectation, the more one suffers. Letting go of expectations of fairness does not mean accepting wrongdoing as right. It does not mean approving of injustice. It does not mean abandoning morality. It simply means freeing oneself from the burden of trying to control a world that was never meant to be controlled. It means understanding that while one can choose integrity, the world may still reward deception. While one can choose love, the world may still return indifference. While one can choose kindness, the world may still respond with cruelty. And rather than allowing this to create bitterness, rather than allowing it to steal one's peace, one must learn to let go. There is freedom in releasing the need for fairness. There is peace in understanding that one's worth is not determined by the world's response. A person who does good, who is kind, who works hard, does not lose value simply because the world does not acknowledge it. The reward of goodness is not always external. Sometimes it is internal. Sometimes the greatest reward is knowing that one has remained true to oneself, that one has not allowed the darkness of the world to change the light within. So many waste their lives seeking justice that may never come. They wait for apologies that may never be spoken. They wait for recognition that may never arrive. They wait for people to realize their mistakes, for situations to be corrected, for balance to be restored. And in doing so, they waste their time. They waste their energy. They waste their lives. They carry the weight of resentment, of anger, of frustration, of injustice, and they let it consume them. But none of these things change reality. None of these things undo the past. None of these things bring fairness where it does not exist. To truly live in peace, one must let go. One must accept that some things will never be fair. One must release the need for the world to be different than it is. One must stop waiting for justice and instead find contentment within. This does not mean becoming passive. It does not mean tolerating wrongdoing. It does not mean remaining silent in the face of injustice. But it does mean understanding that the world will not always give back what is put in. It does mean realizing that no amount of anger will force fairness to exist where it does not. It does mean choosing to live free from the chains of expectation. Imagine how much lighter life would be without the burden of fairness. Imagine no longer carrying the frustration of seeing others prosper through dishonesty. Imagine no longer feeling resentment toward those who have wronged you. Imagine walking through life without the constant disappointment of waiting for things to be fair. Imagine how much peace would fill the mind, how much energy would be freed, how much joy would be restored. This is not something that happens naturally. It is something that must be chosen. It is a mindset that must be developed, a perspective that must be reinforced daily. Letting go of expectations of fairness is an act of strength. It is not weakness. It is not defeat. It is not giving up. It is wisdom. It is understanding reality for what it is rather than what one wishes it to be. It is choosing to move forward rather than remain stuck in frustration. It is choosing to focus on what can be controlled rather than being consumed by what cannot. It is choosing to live freely rather than be trapped by resentment. One must ask, what is gained by holding on to expectations of fairness? What benefit is there in remaining angry over things that cannot be changed? What peace is found in constantly feeling wronged by life? None. There is no peace in expecting fairness where it does not exist. There is no joy in comparing one situation to another's. There is no strength in allowing oneself to be disturbed by the way of the world. And so, the choice is simple. One can continue to expect fairness, to demand justice from a world that does not guarantee it, to allow bitterness to take root, to waste time waiting for things to change. Or one can choose to let go. One can choose to free themselves from the prison of expectation. One can choose to live without the need for fairness, without the need for things to go a certain way, without the need for the world to reward goodness in the way one desires. The decision to let go is not made once and forgotten. It is made daily, moment by moment. It is made every time a situation arises that feels unfair. It is made every time someone is rewarded for wrongdoing. It is made every time a disappointment occurs. And with each decision, the burden grows lighter. With each decision, the mind becomes freer. With each decision, peace replaces frustration. Life is not fair. It never has been. It never will be. But one does not have to suffer because of this truth. One does not have to live in a state of constant frustration. One does not have to carry the weight of expectations that will never be met. Instead, one can choose peace. One can choose to move forward. One can choose to live free from the need for fairness. Your response determines your power, not the situation itself. Life does not spare anyone from difficulty, nor does it favor anyone with ease. Challenges come to all, and unfairness is woven into the very fabric of existence. What separates those who remain strong from those who crumble is not the absence of hardship, but the way they choose to respond to it. It is never the situation that defines a person's strength or weakness, but rather their reaction to it. A man can be insulted, disrespected, and mistreated, yet walk away with his dignity intact, unaffected by the words of others. Another man, hearing the same insults, can be filled with anger, reacting with violence, losing control, and proving that his emotions rule him instead of the other way around. The insult did not determine the outcome. The words did not hold power in themselves. It was the reaction that dictated whether the moment became a display of strength or a loss of control. A woman can face betrayal, experience heartbreak, or encounter deep disappointment, yet she chooses to rise above it, learning from the pain, refusing to allow bitterness to take root in her heart. Another woman, faced with the same betrayal, allows the pain to consume her, holding on to resentment, reliving the moment in her mind, allowing it to poison her thoughts and emotions. The betrayal itself was the same, but the response determined whether she emerged stronger or remained broken. Situations have no power beyond the reaction they are given. It is not the storm that destroys, but the way one withstands it. A tree deeply rooted remains firm despite the strongest winds, while a shallow-rooted plant is easily uprooted by the same force. The strength of the storm is irrelevant. It is the depth of the roots that determine survival. The same is true for people. The event itself has no power beyond the reaction it is given. Many believe that their emotions are controlled by circumstances, that their peace is determined by how life treats them, that their happiness or frustration is dictated by others. This belief leaves them powerless because it makes them dependent on things outside their control. If another person's words can make them angry, then their emotions are at the mercy of others. If another person's actions can ruin their peace, then their peace is not truly theirs. If circumstances must always be favorable for them to be happy, then they are a slave to the world around them, forever waiting for life to arrange itself perfectly before they can feel at ease. But peace is not found in controlling the world, it is found in mastering one's own response to it. There are those who, when faced with difficulties, immediately look for someone to blame. They believe that if another person had acted differently, if a situation had unfolded in a different way, they would not feel the way they do. They place responsibility for their emotions outside of themselves, failing to recognize that true power lies in taking ownership of one's reaction. When a person decides that no situation will have the power to steal their peace, no insult will have the power to shape them, and no disappointment will have the power to break them, they become truly free. There is a strength that comes with this understanding, a strength that is rare in the world. Most people are controlled by their reactions. They are easily provoked, easily disturbed, easily offended. They go through life at the mercy of circumstances, allowing external events to dictate their internal state. They wake up in a good mood, but allow traffic delays or inconveniences to change their mood instantly. They feel happy until someone criticizes them, and suddenly their peace is gone. They feel content until they see someone else achieving more, and suddenly jealousy clouds their heart. Their emotions shift with every changing condition, and as a result, they are never truly in control of themselves. The person who understands that their response is their power does not live this way. They walk through life with a steady mind, unshaken by insults, unbothered by the opinions of others, unmoved by small inconveniences. They have decided in advance that nothing outside of them will determine their internal state. They do not waste their energy reacting to things that do not deserve a reaction. They do not allow their peace to be stolen by things that in the grand scheme of life are insignificant. When people react emotionally to everything that happens around them, they are easily manipulated. Their reactions make them predictable, controllable, weak. Those who seek to harm them can push their buttons with ease, knowing exactly how they will respond. But the one who has mastered their reactions, who does not respond in the way others expect, confuses those who seek to provoke them. Their power lies in their refusal to be controlled by external events. There are many who believe that their anger is justified, that their frustration is a natural response, that their reaction is simply a reflection of the situation. But what they fail to see is that their reaction is a choice. No situation forces anger upon a person. No circumstance forces stress. No event forces frustration. These emotions arise because of the meaning assigned to the situation, and that meaning is always within one's control. Two people can experience the exact same situation and walk away with completely different emotional responses. One allows anger to overtake them while the other remains calm. One dwells on the unfairness while the other moves forward with peace. The difference is never in the situation itself, but in the way it is interpreted and responded to. A person who has trained themselves to control their responses does not allow small things to disturb their peace. They do not waste time being offended by every careless word, every inconsiderate action, every perceived slight. They do not allow their emotions to be dictated by others. They do not react impulsively, but rather they pause, they think, they choose their response wisely. This is not weakness. It is not passivity. It is the ultimate strength. It is the power of self-control, the power of inner mastery, the power of a steady mind. This is not to say that emotions should be suppressed or ignored. Emotions are natural and they provide valuable insight. But emotions should never be the master. They should never be in control. A person who is ruled by their emotions is like a ship without an anchor, drifting wherever the waves take them. But a person who has learned to control their response is like a captain steering the ship, moving with intention, unaffected by the storms that come and go. Life will always bring challenges. There will always be situations that test patience, that provoke anger, that create frustration. But the reaction to these situations is where true power lies. There is no strength in reacting impulsively, in allowing emotions to dictate actions and letting external events determine internal peace. Strength is found in the ability to remain steady in the midst of difficulty, to choose peace when provoked, to rise above situations instead of sinking into them. Most people spend their lives trying to change the world around them, trying to make circumstances align with their desires, trying to make others treat them in a certain way. But those who understand the power of their response know that the real battle is not external, it is internal. They do not waste energy trying to control things outside of them. Instead, they focus on mastering themselves. They understand that no situation has power unless it is given power. No insult has weight unless it is given weight. No difficulty has control unless it is allowed to have control. To live with this understanding is to live with true freedom. It is to no longer be a victim of circumstance. It is to no longer be tossed back and forth by the waves of life. It is to walk through life with confidence, with steadiness, with unshakable peace. It is to know that while the world may be unpredictable, one's response is always within one's own hands. And in that response lies the greatest power of all. Power of all. Power of all. Power of all.